Namaste Masters, this is Saroja Gullapali. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all my beloved viewers on the PSSM Global channel. I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Brahmashri Pitama Patriji and Dena Merriam. We have completed 13 episodes of the wisdom sharing sessions of the Untold Story of Sita. Before we start the 14th episode, I'd like to request you all to join me in 2 minutes meditation. Kindly cross your feet, lock your fingers and place them on your lap. Close your eyes gently. And be with your breath. Observe your breath, my dear masters. With every breath, go deep within yourself and connect your consciousness. Let's invoke the energies of Sita Ma and Lord Hanuman to join us on this platform as we continue our episode 14. Gently rub both your palms together and place them on your closed eyes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remove your palms and open your eyes slowly. Okay, my dear friends, we will start the 14th episode. So we have been sharing through Soma, Mata's life in ashram. We've also seen that Love Kush are growing up in the nature as Mata always wanted them to. Life began to change for them slowly because word seeped out that Mata was here in the ashram, or their own Maharani Sita was there. And people, as I mentioned before, started pouring in for various ailment treatments and the problems they had to discuss with Maharani Sita. Initially, there were a few, but later it was a steady stream. And as you know, Mata has such a compassionate heart. She would not turn anyone away. But what Soma says is she could see that it was beginning to wear Mata physically. And not only Soma, Sri Ram has also began to notice this. And he thought it was now time for Mata to return to Ayodhya, to the palace. And he thought that way she will have access to more people, or more people will have access to Sita Mata. And he also thought it was time to tell their sons who they truly were, because as per him, he thought his children did not know that he was the Maharaja Ram of Ayodhya and Sita was Maharani Sita. He only thought his children knew him as their father, because whenever he came to the hermitage to visit them, he was in very ordinary clothes suitable to the ashram lifestyle. So when he mentions to Soma and Sitama, they have smiles on their face because they both suspected that the children already knew. And when Sri Ram decided to reveal this to his sons, he seated up both the boys before him, and he was struggling to start the conversation. So Sita Ma began that, look, children, you're growing up, and soon you will have to take your responsibilities in life. And honestly, both of them were growing up. They were taller than Sita Ma. And then they looked at their father. This time, Sri Ram had completely he was dressed in his royal clothings. And this was the first time Sri Ram came to them in his royal attire. And when he shared with the children that he was the Maharaja Ram and his mother Sita was the Maharani, they both burst into laughter because they said that they already knew. And then Sri Ram asked, why didn't you ask any questions? And they say, we would never ask or we would never question any action of our parents. We know that whatever decision you take would always be for our benefit. And Sri Ram thought, that Sita has brought them up so well. Then he says to the children, if you were raised in the palace, your upbringing would have been very different and you would not have had the wisdom or the benefit of the wisdom the same way that you have had now. So that secret that Sri Ram was thinking was a secret was no longer a secret because the children knew. After the children were sent back to the hermitage, he turned to Mata and said, Rishi Bhrigu and Sage Khyati will soon achieve their liberation and the curse will be released. And according to Sri Rama, then his family could be reunited. So he asked Sita Ma to prepare to return to Ayodhya. And he spoke with quite a joy. But Mata did not respond. She nodded. But Soma felt that was something missing in Mata's face after Sri Ram left to Ayodhya. And Mata was standing in the doorway looking after him. Soma asked Mata, aren't you happy about going back to Ayodhya, Mata? And Mata said, I would love to, Soma, but it's not meant to be. Every action has its consequences. And Soma did not understand why. So she asked Mata, and Mata did not answer. She just gave a smile to Soma and moved away. For many weeks after that, this topic did not come up. One day, when Mata was sitting outside in the evening or just before retiring to bed, Soma went to her with a drink. Mata used to have a kind of soothing drink before she went to sleep, which could be milk with some herbs, or I'm not sure what it is, but here it has been mentioned, an evening drink. Then Mata says to Soma, shows her the sky and says, look, Soma, there is a celebration going on in the sky. And when Soma looked up, she could see two great bursts of light appearing in the distant heavens. And Soma explains it looks like a star has just woken up. So she could see like two big bursts of light. And she asked Mata, what does that signify? And Mata said, Soma, Rishi Bhrigu and Sage Khyati, they have achieved their mukti or liberation, and now they have achieved union with Parabrahma, the ultimate consciousness. And she said they both are now free from the illusion of all this material plane, and they're also free from the cycle of birth and death and suffering. And hence all the stellar deities are celebrating. Can't you hear, can't you not feel the joy that's permeating from the celestial world? Soma could not feel or hear anything. Mata would always speak to her as if whatever Mata was speaking, Soma was feeling, but not all the time could Soma feel what Mata was feeling. And then Mata said, I was waiting for this sign, Soma. This was an indication that if Rishi Bhrigu and Sage Khyati attained his liberation like what we are seeing, then that indication is that our retreat is coming to an end. Then Soma was very happy. She said, should I start preparing for us to move to Ayodhya? And Mata said, not yet. There is one more desire left within me that must be fulfilled. And Soma could not understand. She said, what is that desire, Mata? Because Soma could not think of anything that Mata could possibly want, because Mata never expressed any desire for anything as long as she had known Mata. And then Mata said, it has long been my desire to set this human eyes on Mahadev in human form. And she mentioned that she had this desire since childhood. And even when she was in Lanka, she always had this desire, and she discussed with Parvati Ma. And when she was in Lanka, she would invoke Mahadev again and again, but she could feel his presence, but she could not see his form that she could see with her human eyes. But she could see Parvati Ma, but not Mahadev. And she says, I've held this desire for so long, and this yearning for his presence has grown so much that I can't think of anything. I can't take a step further until he appears in front of my material eyes. And also Sitama says, I'm sure Parvati Ma knows about my desire, and she will definitely help me realize this last desire. So that is the words with which Mata ends that conversation with Soma. And Soma sat quietly for a long time. And those words created a lot of unease within Soma, because Mata mentioned that Parvati Ma will help her realize this last desire. What is this last desire that Mata is talking about? Then Soma thought, perhaps, she was sensing the fulfillment of this last desire was an indication that she would soon depart from the human world. And the moment this thought came to Soma, she could not accept it, because if that was Mata's last desire, then once the desire was completed, there was no real reason for Mata to stay in this human world. Many months passed by. Sri Ram did not return because he was very preoccupied with matters concerning the kingdom, or whenever he came for short visits, never did he raise the matter of Mata's return to Ayodhya. And so the time passed by, many months passed by, and then one evening, when Mata was saying goodnight to her children, before she put them to bed, she called them, and they were all sitting outside. And Mata looked up at the sky. The whole sky was filled with countless stars. And Mata said to Love and Kush, look up at the stars. See how many worlds are there? And not only many worlds, there are many universes. And she said to Love Kush, you cannot see all of those worlds, because there are many, many celestial worlds, Love and Kush. When I'm no longer here, I will be helping you from those worlds. So in fact, she says, when I'm no longer here, then you must understand that I'm helping those worlds, helping them unfold their potential. And Love was very concerned, and he said, what do you mean when you're no longer here, Ma? And then Mata realized that she should not have mentioned that in front of the children. No child wants to hear mother depart forever. So she corrected herself and said, oh, no problem, I will always be here. But there will come a time when I will be needed elsewhere, and I will be called there. And then she said, always look upon those stars as your friends, because they emit a love, and that love benefits all of us. And now Mata told them about how the stars work. She said, those stars, they help us fulfill our destiny. But sometimes because of those stars and their position, they bring us challenges. But Love and Kush, those challenges are for our growth. Then she mentioned that it was sage Bhrigu who brought to humanity the knowledge of how to read the language of stars. She also reminded them that she was born to him as his daughter Bhargavi, but then only a partial knowledge was revealed at that time, because humanity was not ready for all the knowledge of stars to be brought on the earth. So she said to the children, there is much more to learn in the future. When you people become king, or you're ruling the kingdom, look up at the stars and always know that I will be smiling down at you and sending love from wherever I am. So here, Ma, when she's talking about stars and saying that they fulfill our destiny and they bring us challenges, Mata must be mentioning about the positions of the star that decided that it was time that they completed the curse that Sage Bhrigu gave them. You remember, my dear friends, when Mata was in the palace and she had a vision about Sage Bhrigu and his curse, and she came to Arundhati Ma when Khyati Ma was waiting in the ashram for them. Then she asks them that, do I really have to do this now? I have just come back. I was separated from Sri Ram for so long, and I've just come back, and can't I stay for a little bit longer together with Sri Ram? And if you remember, Khyati Ma does mention that the timing has been fixed. The timing of the star was fixed by the stars. So, and that star's positions that had been fixed has now happened, and now you have to do your, you have to complete your curse now. So, and but honestly to say, that positioning of the star was decided by Narayana and Mahalakshmi at that time when they got the curse. So what Mata is saying is reminding children that those stars positions, they fulfill our destiny and also bring us challenges, because that's reminding her that those position of the stars that evening or whenever they started their time in the ashram decided that they had to complete the curse. So then the children ask, Kush asked Mata, but Mata, why are you saying like you'll be smiling down, sending love from wherever you are? You will be beside us when we rule the kingdom. And Mata replied with a faint voice, said, there are other universes you can't see with your eye. I exist there as well. And she did not say anything much because the children were feeling sleepy. And when the children went to sleep, Soma also joined them. And a few days passed, and one day Mata rose very early in the morning and she announced that they were having special guests. And she asked Soma to prepare the most magnificent feast. And Soma did not understand. So she kept asking for instructions. And Mata said, we have to prepare a delicious meal, but it has to be the best feast. And she did not give any more instructions to Soma. And so Soma was sent to the forest to gather all the best roots and edibles that she could find. And Mata said that she would gather the herbs. So the whole morning was spent in seeking out for food and picking the best from the garden. And Mata seemed very anxious, but at the same time she was very overjoyed. And Soma could not imagine who was she expecting, and she thought maybe it was Sri Ram. And must be Sri Ram is bringing others from Ayodhya. And maybe today is the day when Sri Ram is going to take us all back to Ayodhya. And that's why Mata is so happy. So the evening set in, and what Mata did was she arranged a beautiful place outside amidst of all the flowers. That was the place where Mata normally used to sit and gaze the stars. So the whole morning they had prepared a beautiful feast for this evening. And so what Mata asked Soma that, can you bring all the cushions and mat from inside the cottage? We have to arrange it here. So Mata was insisting on making that place a very comfortable and beautiful scene. So she arranged it her best. And when she finished doing that, they went inside to wait, and the food was prepared and everything was ready for whoever Mata was waiting. And then nobody had arrived. So Soma said, Mata, maybe they're going to come tomorrow. And Mata shook her head and said, no, it has to be now. Soma, just make sure that the food is warm, because they're going to be here any minute. And then she asked Mata, who are you expecting? And as usual, when Mata doesn't want to reveal it, she said, you will know in time. And just as the stars were emerging one by one, the evening, the sky was being filled with stars one after another. Two beautiful yogis knocked at the door, and anyone could hear Mata's heart beating so loudly as she went to the door to open it. And when she opened the door, she had a big beam on her face and she was glowing. And Soma says, that glow that I saw on Mata's face, I don't know whoever was there. I had not seen that glow ever before, only once when she had that glow in the presence of Sri Rama. And now that same glow had appeared on her face when she saw this beautiful young ascetics, the yogis who were there at the door. And Mata bent to touch their feet. They tried to stop Mata, but Mata insisted, saying, Prabhu, this one time, allow me to serve you. And she said it in a very quiet voice. And she folded her hands in respect to them. And Soma was wondering who these two yogis are. So one of the yogi was male and the other was female. The face of the woman was very youthful, and she had a very pale, mountain people-like complexion. and had dark glowing almond-shaped eyes. And the man also had very fine features and also bore a mountain complexion, pale and soft, and yet his features displayed great strength, and Soma could not stop looking at them. And the woman spoke very lovingly to Mata, and she said, Sita, my dear, I have felt your desire, Sita. I have felt your yearning, and hence I have come to fulfill this desire. I can't refuse any request of yours, Sita, she said very lovingly to Sita Mata. So Mata took them to the place where she had organized all the seating area. And just as they were getting comfortable, Soma saw Sri Ram coming up the pathway. So he had also come to join them, and he went immediately to greet that couple. And what Soma saw was, as they sat there, there was a soft light coming from that couple. Um, it was a dark night. Uh, the moon wasn't quite big. It was only small sheen. Yet that couple that had come were embraced with a subtle light, and definitely it was not coming from the stars or moons. It felt like it emitted from the bodies of the two yogis. So after sitting for some time, then Mata rose to get the food, and she insisted that she will serve herself to both the yogis and Sri Ram. Normally, at times, she allowed Soma to attend to the guests, but today Mata wanted to serve her own self. So then she served Sri Ram and the other two, and then when she seated herself to eat the food, then she requested Soma that now she can serve. And they all ate in silence. And when they started eating, they complimented Mata on the food. And after they finished the food, receiving the compliments, Mata always was great in cooking, but receiving the compliments from these two couple really made Mata feel very good. Then the woman turned to Sri Ram and told him many things that happened in Lanka with Mata, because Mata had never mentioned about her time in Lanka to Sri Ram. So this woman who was sitting there in the form of yogi told Sri Ram about many things that took place during Mata's time in Lanka. And when she finished telling all that, she gazed for a few minutes at Sita Ma. And then, for the first time, Sri Ram heard this when the women described Mata's battle with Yamadeva, the god of death, on the evening when Lakshman had been struck with a poisonous arrow during the great war with Ravana. And the woman said, Sri Ram, Lakshman would not have lasted that night if Sita Ma had not intervened. But in exchange for Lakshman's life, Sita had to give some years of her own. And it was the demand of Yamadeva. And she fell silent. And this was the first time Sri Ram was hearing about what Sita had sacrificed for Lakshmana. As the words sank in, Sri Ram seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. And then he could barely speak. And he said, okay, but I'm sure an extension can surely be given to Sita Ma. And the woman shook her head and said, Sri Ram, it was Sita's word. And then Sri Ram said, like Sita has given some years of her life, surely I can do the same, he said. And the woman again shook her head, saying, which meant, no, Ram, you can't do it. The time is running out, she said. So Sri Ram asked, how much time is left? And the woman turned to face Mata, Sita Ma, and said, you can choose the time of your departure, but it must be within the year. You can imagine what Sri Ram would be going through. And he said, so soon. And even for Mata, though Mata knew she had given her word, but she did not know that she had to vacate her body within 1 year. So Mata had been absorbing this information. When she heard that it had to be all within a year, she seemed very startled at the beginning, but she soon gained her composure. She turned to Sri Rama and said, Sri Ram, Rama, I have to honor my word. If I were to face the same situation again, Ram, I would gladly give my life away for the sake of our beloved brother Lakshman or any of our brothers. Ram, it would be my honor to do so, she said to Rama. Then Rama held Mata's hand and he said, okay, then I will also prepare for my departure, because Rama did not want to stay back on this realm without Sita Ma. So he said, that's it. I'm not leaving you anymore, Sita. I will also prepare for my departure. When I share this episode with you, my dear friends, this is not going to be easy for me. Even in the Hindi version of this wisdom sharing, I really struggle sharing these words with my viewers. I hope you can understand. So Sri Ram says, I will also prepare for my departure. And the man who was in yogi form, he said, Ram, that is not possible. Your time has not come. You have to remain here until your sons grow up. They're ready to rule the kingdom. You still have to lay the foundation for a new society that has to come. You have to form all the laws of dharma. You have to establish the law of dharmas based on the universal love. This was the reason for your birth, Rama. Not only your birth, this was the reason for birth of both of you. But with Sita's early departure, now it is very urgent or very required for you to remain here back on the earth and fulfill the task for which you both have come. This was both of your responsibility to lay the foundation for the new society. We already talked about it, my dear friends, right in the first episode, that Sri Ram and Sita had come to lay the foundation of the society which was based on a dharma whose basis was universal love. And now with Sita Ma's early departure, the whole responsibility now is on Ram's shoulder. So the man said that you cannot prepare for your departure yet because all this task is remaining and you have to do it. But however, Sita will help you from the divine home or the divine realms. Mata then turned to this man and said, if I have any sadness about hearing that I have to leave my body within a year, that is really countered by my joy in seeing you. Now I do not have any grief in leaving my family and this world that I so much love, because I have overcome that by the joy that I'm seeing you finally with my human eyes. And that man, that yogi replied, that is why I have come. With a very loving smile, he said, Sita, Ram, now I will show you both all that was and that all that will come and who you truly are. So now he wanted to show them everything which they could not see with their human eye. And with those words, everyone closed their eyes and he took them into meditation. Now, as Soma was there listening to all this, as they went into meditation, Soma cleared all the remains of the meals when this conversation was taking place. But tears threatened to burst from her eyes. How could she let her beloved Mata go? The moment they sat in meditation, Mata Soma quickly took up all the stuff that was left there after the meal and ran to the kitchen area. And once she reached her room, she collapsed on the floor. She cried and cried until there were no tears left in her. And then she drifted to sleep. She woke after many hours. It was still dark outside, and when she looked out of the window, she still saw the four of them in meditation. But the only difference was she could not see the two yogis. The two yogis, the forms of the two yogis have changed, and seated before Mata and Sri Ram were the forms of Parvati Ma and Mahadev. So those two yogis who had come that evening were Lord Mahadev and Parvati Ma, and they had come to fulfill the desire of Sita Ma, the only last desire that she had. When Soma saw Mahadev and Parvati Ma, she thought of going to them, but her eyes were heavy and her feet would not move. So she again sank back to the floor and went into a deep sleep. Next morning, when she woke up, she looked through the window, and there she found Mata sleeping alone on the cushions. where she thought the dinner had taken place that night. And when she looked at Mata and she went to her, there was a subtle light that clung to Mata's body, and she could not see any signs of guests or Sri Ram. So she sighed a big sigh of relief, and she thought, maybe all that I remember is from a dream that I've had in my sleep. Perhaps the guest never arrived, and Mata just has been sitting here and she fell asleep. So Soma comforted herself with the thought that, oh, thank God, that was such a bad dream that I saw. And then she went about to see the children's work. And when she returned back to the cottage, she found Mata in the kitchen. And Mata was preparing the morning meal. And then she said to Mata, Mata, last night we were waiting for the guests, preparing all that beautiful meal. So they never arrived, did they? And Mata smiled and she said, don't you remember, Soma? You were serving us. And Soma's heart sank. And trembled voice, she said with trembling voice, I was hoping that I had dreamt the whole thing. She didn't want the thing to be true. She didn't want her Mata to leave her. And then Mata said, Soma, do you not know who you were in the presence of? And Soma knew who she was in the presence of. She had seen, if that whole thing was not the dream, then the two yogis who had come were Mahadev and Parvati Ma. Soma knew that. Mata asked her to bring all the cushions and mats back into the cottage. And she said, go bring the mats and then you will know who had come last night. So when Soma went there, picked up the mats and the cushions, she discovered there were small jewels spread out all in the area where the man and the woman had sat. So she grabbed a basket and she collected all of them and brought inside. And Mata, when she was returning, she saw Mata smiling in the doorway. And then looking up to Mata, she realized that whatever she had seen was true. It was indeed Mahadev and Parvati Ma. And whatever was left by Mahadev and Parvati Ma, all those jewels. And then Sita Ma said to her, bring all those gems to Gurudev into the hermitage, and she asked to give those gems and the jewels to Gurudev and tell him that it was gift from Sri Ram for taking care of his family all these years. But as the days passed by, Soma says that Mata was not anymore disturbed by the news of her early departure from this world, though for a couple of seconds or minutes when she heard the news of this early departure, she was startled, but very soon she regained the composure that night. But after that, she seemed undisturbed. And whenever Soma wanted to bring that topic, she would place her finger on Soma's lips and said, Soma, do not think about tomorrow. We have to think only about today. This is what we have. The world is very uncertain, Soma, and nobody knows, where anyone will be any day, any month, or 1 year from now. Who knows who will be there? So don't talk about tomorrow. Whatever will happen the way it should. And it is our own design, because we all know we plan, we come with our own design. So Mata is saying that whatever will happen, it should happen that way. And it is with our own design. And we must not question, or we must not mourn for the inevitable. So nicely Mata is saying that don't worry about tomorrow. Whatever is happening is because that's how our divine plan, that's how we have designed our divine plan for this incarnation. And so we must not question or mourn on the inevitable. But Soma could not put it out of the mind. And every day when she woke up, she used to run to Mata to make sure she was still alive. And one day, Mata laughed because she saw Soma coming running to her every morning to check on her. So Mata laughed and said to her, Soma, I promise you, you will be the first to know when that day comes. And in the evening, Soma would see that Mata would be staring at the stars as if she was studying something, because Soma knows that Mata knows that the position of the stars will decide when she has to go. So many evenings she would find Mata just studying the stars. And one evening, Mata said to Soma, she said to her, Once I was born as the daughter of Rishi Bhrigu, which we know, and that's what Mata is telling. And I helped Rishi Bhrigu to bring to earth the knowledge of the stars, the understanding of the star moments and their effects on human life. And this is what we call astrology. And Mata says it was during that time when Narayana took upon that curse. And if he had not taken that Soma, Bhrig Maharshi had so much grief over the death of his Usana. The grief was so great that he would have departed from the world that day itself. But Narayana knew that that work was incomplete. And so it wasn't time for Bhrig Maharshi to go. And Bhriga Maharshi had to remain for a long time to come until the end of the cycle. And that was the reason Narayana took that curse, so that Bhriga can stay back till the end of the cycle. So as a result of that, Bhriga Maharshi is still with us. He's still bringing knowledge to human society. So in those days, with the incarnation of Bhargavi, the knowledge of stars that had started to come in on the earth, now Bhriga Maharshi was completing that. So Soma asked Mata, Mata, what are you watching for? Because she sees that, she's worried that Mata was looking at the stars to find the correct time that she could depart from this world. So she had to ask her, what are you watching for? And then Mata said, Soma, the stars speak to me in the language of love. They're constantly emitting love and they're sending messages to me. And she said, you're right, Soma. Your thought is correct, because they will tell me the right time when I must go. And with trembling voice, she said, Mata. Soma could only say Mata. But then Mata answered, no, Soma. Because when Mata said that the stars will tell me the right time to go, Soma wanted to say, I want to come with you, Mata. Don't leave me anymore. And then Mata said, no, Soma, you cannot come with me. You're still needed here, because Love and Kush will take comfort in your presence. Because when they go back to the palace, you are the only link between them and the palace and their father. You will be their only connection for quite some time. So you cannot come with me, Soma, because you still have your responsibility to complete. And in the coming days, it felt like the whole Ayodhya knew. It only seemed that whole Ayodhya knew that Mata's time on this earth was limited. For people started pouring in. Sometimes people would just come to just catch a glimpse of her. This was really taking a toll on Mata's physical health. It wore on her terribly, but she welcomed everyone. And one morning she said to Soma, Soma, how I wish to see Ayodhya once more. I'd like to walk on the streets of Ayodhya, see how it has become, how busy it has become. And Soma said, I'll see what I can do and I will talk to Hanuman. But both Soma and Sitama knew it wasn't possible, because Mata was becoming very frail. She would not be able to withstand the long journey to Ayodhya. But still, Soma was thinking, how can we make it happen? And not long after this, Hanumanji arrived. Hanuman knew Sitama's desire even before she expressed, because very often he would appear at the cottage with a particular fruit that Mata liked. Mata would not even say or express a desire, but Hanumanji would be there with whatever she had, she thought in her mind, or what she liked. It appeared that he could read her thoughts. And one time she said to Hanuman, I don't want to trouble you, son Hanuman. So I will stop these small desires, because Mata knew that the desire, if just came within her, Hanuman would know and bring it to her. So she said, I don't want to trouble you. So I will stop these small desires from coming within me. I'll stop them before they arise. And then Hanuman begged her, saying, I beg you, Mata, don't deprive me of the joy of satisfying these small wishes that arise in your heart. And so she allowed him to continue. She understood that was the little wish that he had to fulfill her desires. And as soon as she expressed the desire of visiting Ayodhya, again Hanuman appeared before her and said, Mata, I will take you to Ayodhya, but let's not go by the normal route, because he knew Mata could not take the journey physically. He said, let's go in meditation. So Hanuman took Mata to Ayodhya in meditation, and there they remained several days in Ayodhya. And when Mata returned, she was so happy. She had a big smile and she said, Hanuman took me to Ayodhya. We went to the sacred Saryu River. I spoke with the Devi. I took a bath in the Saryu River. And she said, Soma, if you see how the city has grown, how many people are living there, so many foreigners, so many traders, it doesn't resemble the same Ayodhya that we both know of. With so many, there's a whole governing body there. And I don't know how Ram is finding time to visit us. It is such a busy place now. And then Soma said, Mata, how can he possibly stay away from you? You are his guiding star, the foundation of his life. Sorry, my dear friends. As I said to you, this episode is going to be very tough for me to share with you people. You are his guiding star, the foundation of his life. That's what Hanuman said. How can he stay away from you? And he said, it's so hard for Sri Ram to be away from you all the time. And he tries to come to you as much as he can. And she said, through all our separations, through all the challenges, and through all the busyness of his life, the love we have for each other has not diminished even in the slightest. Just by reciting his name or hearing Sri Ram's name, that brings me so much joy. And Hanuma, that is what binds you and me, because we both love him. And listening to that, tears came to Hanuman's eyes as Mata spoke these words, saying, just by reciting Sri Ram's name or hearing Sri Ram's name brings so much joy in my heart. And she knew even Hanuman had the same feeling. Just by hearing Sri Ram's name or reciting his name, even Hanuman felt that love for him. So that's why Sita Ma said, this is what is common between you and me, Hanuma. This is what binds you and me. And then Hanuman said, Mata, my love for Sri Ram and my love for you are just one and the same. I don't differentiate between you or Sri Ram. And he said, as long as I walk on this earth, I will proclaim the unity of you and Sri Ram. And Mata said, yes, and you will walk this earth for a long, long time. And after Hanuman left, Mata shared with Soma that there were many souls from Mithila who were taking birth now in Ayodhya. And this is what she recognized when she went back to Ayodhya. And she said, this gives me a great joy because they are bringing the values and memories of Mithila to Ayodhya. And she shared this with Soma. And Soma said, Maharani, this is happening. Sitama, it's happening because of their love for you that has drawn them from Mithila to Ayodhya. And they have followed you all the way to this land because they love you, Ma. And like how I'm finding it so difficult to share this episode with you, my dear masters. Soma was also going through the same feeling. So she had to stop her narrative for quite some time. And then she continued again. Soma says that she knew what Mata and Sri Ram were doing in the last year. What they were doing was they were planting thought forms in human mind, not like the negative thought forms which Ravana had planted. This was the love-based emotions, love-based thought forms. They were planting in human mind, in the collective. They were seeding ideas and concepts that would unfold centuries and even millennia into the future. We have talked about it so many times that when the cycle of time will turn and there will be ascending time cycle, all this will be required. So Sita and Sri Ram knew that, so they were planting seeds and concepts of all this knowledge which would be needed millennium into the future when the time would turn. And then one day Mata explained to Soma that this earth is in the descending arc of its cycling moment. So we all knew, we talked about this descending arc of cycling moment. That's what Mata is saying, that the earth is in the descending arc of its cyclic moment, and because of which humans are losing touch with their spiritual world. They're losing touch with their internal world, but what they are doing is they're gaining development in the external world, like their rational faculty, logic, and this will increase men's mental capability. So with the descending arc of cyclic moment, we talked about it, that people would be outwardly traveling, that they would not be in their inner realms, not connected to spiritual world, because of the time. So the rational faculty of the mind will start developing, which is the man's mental capability. And some of these thought forms that Mata and Sri Ram are planting into the concepts, into in deep within humanity, would not manifest until the time, until humanity enters the ascending arc. So we talked about the descending arc and the ascending arc. So when the time will go through the ascending arc of the cycle, all these ideas and concepts will be required. So that's what Mata was telling Soma. And as the human spirit seeks to know itself in its full individuality, man's sense of himself will become much inflated. So as the human goes outside from inside with the descending arc, what Mata is saying, that human ego will be very inflated and their thirst for power will grow. The people will become more aggressive. And that's why structure and laws are necessary now, which Rama has to lay the foundation for. Earlier, Sitama says it was not needed because there was a natural internal knowing of dharma. When before it was not needed because everyone knew and they were aware of dharma. But now with the outwardly progression of humanity, with the descending arc, as I said, man's ego growing, thirst for power growing, people becoming more aggression. So this was required. The structure and laws have to be maintained. And Sitama then said, eventually, when human individuality reaches its peak, then man will have to move beyond that. And he will come to know himself again as part of the whole. And then he will be able to overcome these aggressive traits. But what Sitama says is, it's a long way off. We cannot go against the cycle of time that has been established. And because the time cycle has its own rhythm and it has got its own pulse. And she says to Soma, much patience is needed when we talk about the realm of time. We know that we are going through descending arc now. And then after millenniums, we know we'll be going through the ascending arc. We just have to wait for the cycle to finish. But when humanity goes through ascending arc, they will need all this knowledge. And for them to have this knowledge after such a long time, it is required for Sri Ram and me to plant these thought forms in the collective human mind so that this would unfold centuries and even millennium after millennium into the future. So this is exactly how Mata is explaining what is their purpose of, what's the purpose of Sri Ram and herself taking incarnation at this time. And my dear friends, just to have a little bit of benchmark of where we are now, what Mata said at that time, we are seeing it now. We have seen in the last century, at least to the time that we can go, as far as we can go. Man, we have seen working on its full individuality, trying to understand his sense of himself or herself, becoming so much inflated, looking so much outwardly. We have seen the thirst for power, how many world wars that have happened. We have seen man's aggressive form. What all Mata mentioned, we have seen that. And then Mata also mentioned about the time when individuality will reach its peak, and then man will go beyond and will come to know again as a part of the whole. And that transition is already happening, my dear friends. And in this transition, the human being will try to go within himself or herself to know who they are. So whatever Mata said, we're seeing that happening now and what we have seen in the recent past. So with that, I will conclude this episode 14 at this point of time. Thank you very much. I'll meet you soon.